Hello, welcome. It's ABW Live. We're back for the transfer shows. How are we all? I hope you're all well. Just a quick couple of shout outs to the people in the box already. Christian Anderson, Dan Ramzan, Archie, Loki 73. Oh, look at them there. My 25. Oh, Danny's there. Danny the GFP. Oh my God, what's happening? We're all here. How are you all? Are you all well? Alan Craker's there as well. We'll get to you all a bit later. We're back. Oh, Kilo Dogs is there. Tell you what, Ryan Costa's there. Don't know what's happening. Oh no, Gav's there. The Gav. In any case, it's the transfer shows. We're going to do 4 weekly transfer shows running up to the end of the transfer window. We may be talking about exciting stuff. We may not. Who knows? But tonight, I'm joined by Goonaholic. Dave, say hello.
Hello there, Jace. Thanks for inviting me along again, mate, even though I know not the first thing about any of these players.
Who cares? We're just going to enjoy, mate. We're just going to enjoy. It's good to have you on board. We got Chris Carpenter, the Dirty Pirate. The Dirty Pirate's back for you.
Hello.
Hello, Chris.
All right, Jace?
You right?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Tidy, bye.
Good.
Tidy.
Good. I've been having. I've had a lovely holiday. I've been playing social media drafts. That's been fun, and upsetting a few people. That was a bit naughty of me, but I blame Danny. It's all Danny's fault. So it's good to be back, mate. Nice.
You know what they say? Screw them. And
indeed,
for twice in 1 week, we have Josh. Say hello, Josh.
Hello, Josh. How's it going?
Top quality. I like that a lot. You okay?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. It feels just like only yesterday I was here, or crying my heart out on the sofa behind me. It was one of the two.
Mate, these things are sent to test us. Talk of testing, have you got sunburnt yet?
That's a very rude question. Yes, yes, I have, but not in the last 2 weeks. The heat wave came. I got caught out doing some outdoor labour.
Outdoor labour.
Life is a ginger.
Yeah.
No comment. In any case, let's get a show on the road, guys. We've got Stephen Edwards, Taj, Alonso Spencer, the great Alonso Spencer, Mayank Nagendran. Sorry, Mayank Nagendran's in there as well. Hiya, guys, you all right? Ahmed Saeed's there as well. I love this place. I love this show. Right, guys, bit of housekeeping quickly. You are following us. That's fantastic. We really appreciate it. If you aren't following us, if you could subscribe, that would be great. And if you click the little bell icon, you will know whenever we're going live. So whenever there's a new transfer, we're going live that night, unless it's late doors. And we're just here to put some content out for you guys. But the next 4 Thursdays, you've got transfer shows. So that's 2 quick shout outs before we get into it. Andre Radlescu, Nano Swat, and Marcus Hodges. Those 3. There you go. Hello. How are you? I'm going to start with you, Chris, actually. This year's transfer window started off pretty sharpish, and we brought in Stephan Lichtsteiner. Tell me, what do you think of it?
I like it. I think I know. It seems like forever ago now, doesn't it? That he came in.
Chris,
yes.
Are you on mute, Chris?
No,
I can hear him.
Oh God,
Dave can hear me. It's all gone wonky. Dave, you can hear me.
Chris,
Josh, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay, so everyone can hear me but Jace. This is going well, isn't it?
It's only the important people that can hear you. It's fine.
This is the most important thing. Okay, I'll just type a little message. Jace, everyone else can hear me. Oh dear. Right, I'll just keep talking and hope that this works. I love Loki 73 there. It begins. Bang on. Anyway, Stephan Lichtsteiner. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. I think he's a bit of a cliche, safe pair of hands, but also quite a player that's quite liable to rake his studs down your face as and when he fancies. He's a winner. He's experienced. Obviously, I know that there's been a few people have brought up. I think our very own Shitbeard has said a few times that he's a bit of a worry, a bit of a worry about his temperament, shall we say, and about his ability to turn a pace in the Premier League and whether he might get caught out there. But I don't know. I mean, Per Mertesacker did all right in his years as a Premier League player, and I think sometimes you have players, you sign players like Lichtsteiner who have been winners and have been at big clubs. They bring that mentality, and it's not always about how many games they play, but sometimes it's about what they do in training, how they bring through the youngsters. And when you've got Nacho Monreal as an experienced fullback, one side helping Kolasinac, and you've now got Lichtsteiner on the other side helping Bellerin, it'll push Bellerin to new levels, hopefully. And he can play centre half if we're desperate, which I think you'll probably see occasionally, maybe in the European games. So yeah, for me, the money's good. It's a free transfer, and he's a bit of a bastard. And I don't think anyone objects to us having a bit of a bastard in defence. Who should we go to next?
I think the most important.
Go on, Dave.
I'll jump in if you want, Chris.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say the most important bit of what you said there was the fact about him pushing Hector Bellerin not onwards, back to the level that he was at a couple of years ago before he got injured, and then to show him how to develop from there. And I think he's an excellent signing in that respect. I don't think we'll see much of him in other than European and League Cup games, or cup games generally. But no, on that basis, I'm really pleased with him. And perhaps, Jace, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
There we go.
Good man.
It's all working again. Put the batteries back in.
Oh, don't be like that. Don't be like that. Where we at, boys? Where we at?
So that's Lichtsteiner. Josh, what's your? Are you echo what Dave and I have said? Are you underwhelmed? Are you whelmed? What are you?
This is one of the few signings that we've made that I'm more than whelmed with. I actually quite like getting in. We've got some decent cover for Hector Bellerin, who hasn't had decent cover for God knows how long. We've managed to bring in someone of the utmost quality, because I think realistically, you're not getting in, another world-class right-back, because they're not going to want to compete against each other. So the only way you're going to have to get them is get in either a promising youngster. Well, Bellerin's 23 or so no youngsters coming in behind him. So you've got to pick an older guy to come in. And in Lichtsteiner, we've got a guy who, as we say, is very streetwise on the football field. So I think he'll be able to teach the not just Bellerin, but the rest of the squad some of their to be a bit more subtle with what they're doing, whilst VAR isn't brought into the Premier League. So elbows ahoy.
More on that later, yeah. Jay, should we move on to another one?
No, I'll give you my opinion on him, should I?
Oh, go on then.
Ever short of an opinion, are you, Jace?
Funny enough, no. I think it's a really nice little signing. I think he brings experience. I think he brings a bit of leadership. Do you know what I mean? He costs you nothing. There for a couple of seasons, hopefully, not just to help Bellerin, but to help, the other guys in the back four and all the youngsters coming through. I think that even if you only have him for 10 to 15 appearances a season, I think he can be genuinely helpful to this squad. So I really like that one. I thought it was a steady signing, a really decent signing to steady the ship, to come in and, help this back four develop. There's going to be some new defensive coaching coming into this team. So it's a nice way to do it, in my opinion. I mean, that's I think it's a really, really positive step. On to the next one. Who am I going to first? Who wants to take Leno?
Go on, Josh.
Yeah, I could be a safe pair of hands on Leno.
Oh, God.
Oh, shoot me in the face now, please. Crack on.
Yeah, another signing that I think is much needed in our quest for a goalkeeper and goalkeeping coach up to a world-class standard, really. I think I said on the show when we did the announcement for it that he is a goalkeeper who has got some very good statistics and very good foundation to be a world-class goalkeeper. And I think under the right tutelage and the right defensive system is one of the things we don't know under Emery is how's this Arsenal gonna set out? And we do know from other goalkeepers around the league that if you get the right defence in front of them, they can look world class. So I think with Leno, yeah, he's had a couple of mistakes, but I was saying to Chris earlier that all goalkeepers are going to have mistakes in them. Even the top goalkeepers will have a mistake in them. So, I'm not going to have too much of a problem with it if it's just an unfortunate issue. That I think the main one was a pass back and he just, it bobbled. He mistimed it. Well, he did that for Bayer Leverkusen. If I don't really care about what he did for his old team. If he doesn't do it for the Arsenal, I'm fine with him. I don't know if Chris, with goalkeepers, how do you feel about this one coming in?
I've warmed to it, I must admit. It's always it's a difficult one with keepers because, like you said there, Josh, no matter who you sign, there will always be an area of their game that could be improved upon. We were talking about Pickford earlier on, and by all accounts, the English media have raved about him. And I put in our other group, I was just sort of saying to yourself and Joel and Ross, who we know, I think he's been good. I think he's made obviously a brilliant save against Colombia and a penalty save, but I still think he's very flappy and looks a bit panicky to me. And yet everybody in England has said that he's the second coming of Shilton. So I think it's all about opinions. I think the upside of Leno is he's at a good age. He's a keeper that obviously has been at Leverkusen for a number of years. Yes, he has made a few ricks. It's difficult because it's especially with German keepers, because obviously what's happened to Loris Karius, whose obviously career is now in the dirt. As long as it's sort of not Almunia-esque, I think there's a keeper that can be worked with there. The goalkeeping coach that Emre employs is a very high standard from what I can gather, and certainly when he was at PSG, they thought very highly of him. Petr Cech is a perfect type of coaching figure for him. I think probably David de Bins is probably going to move on, which I still like Big Ospina, but I think there isn't really a space for him, and maybe Emi Martinez will move on as well because he's of an age where he needs to play. So Emery's comments today were quite interesting when he said that there was no guarantee of who he would pick as number one. Despite Cech being given the shirt, he wants to look at both keepers. All five, he actually said, including Macy and Ospina in that, and then he'd make his decision. So, if it's Leno or Cech, I happen to think, or personally think, that he'll stick with Cech for now, but probably towards the mid part of the season, maybe towards Christmas, you might start to see Leno play more, and eventually I think he'll end up as the number one. So, yeah, he said the right things. He's making the right noises, and I like his athleticism. I think that'll do well in the Premier League. So, hopefully, we've got a steal there. Let's see what Dave thinks. Dave, what do you reckon?
The only thing, if I'm going to play devil's advocate for a moment, it's that he was one of the top 3 German goalkeepers in the national squad, but didn't make the squad for the World Cup. So he's dropped to 4th at least, which suggests he's going in the wrong direction if you just take things as read. I personally haven't seen anything of Bayer Leverkusen last season. I don't know what his form is. I'm assuming that it is felt by the club that he's an improvement, an upgrade on Ospina. But I think the importance of having a top-notch goalkeeper has been emphasised by any of the sides that have won the league title in recent years. And I don't know yet that he's top-notch, and I hope to hell he proves me wrong.
Thing is, Dave, as well.
Sorry, guys. I think you've got to leave him develop, okay? We knew we needed to go a bit younger. I thought the Cech signing was needed when that was made, because Szczesny, he just had a total collapse of his confidence. But, with this boy Leno, you've got Petr Cech alongside him. I genuinely don't think this German squad at the moment is any barometer of a player's quality. I think if you look at Sané being left at home, and yet you look at some of the performances from Müller, from Kroos in this World Cup, etc., that German squad is no barometer of a player's quality. Emery, he seems to have a solid foundation of how he's going to coach players in place. I'm quite excited about Leno. I've got to be honest with you. I expect him to be challenging for the Premier League number 1 squad spot from the off. and I'm just hoping, we see a bit of a sort of Indian summer from Czech, and we see Leno's development come along quite quickly. But it's interesting times. Another new keeper. Let's hope we've made the right choice.
As long as he doesn't end up in midfield like Manuel Neuer did, that's that could be avoided ideally.
I got to be honest with you. It still shocks me to this moment that happened. Chris, I'm going to come to you with this one. Sokratis.
Or as he will now be forever known as, Danny's favourite. Yes, Sokratis.
I want you to answer a question. This guy does not excite me whatsoever. In fact, okay. That's all I see this is as a car crash waiting to happen. I want you to try to put assuage my worries here. I want you to try to put my mind at rest, okay? Now, I don't see great leadership qualities. I don't see pace. Those are my two big concerns. I see him as nervy, and unless we have some epic coaching from the new team, you're putting a nervy centre-back into an already nervy defence. Go nuts.
Okay. On the nervy side, I don't agree. I think we'll be all right there. I think he didn't have a great season at Dortmund last season, but I think if you speak to anyone who follows Dortmund, I think Drew was on this show the other day. I think he's a good one to speak to. Anybody who follows Dortmund closely will tell you that Dortmund didn't have a good season full stop last year. I mean, we ended up with half their squad at the end of the season. It sort of speaks volumes about the clear out they've had. They've just changed managers and the whole setup. So I wouldn't read too much into his season last season. I think he played with 5 different partners over the season as well. Fitness was a bit of an issue. He's an old-fashioned, rugged defender, and I guess it depends what you want in a defender. When we signed Shkodran Mustafi, I think we all thought ideal. We've got a ball-playing, mobile sort of defender of an age who could potentially grow into a quality centre half. That's not happened. Fair enough. Still might, maybe not. But that's what we thought. With Sokratis, you're basically buying the finished item. You're not buying a player for potential. You're not buying a player who's going to come on. You're essentially buying a player who's going to work with the likes of Mavropanos, who's obviously of Greek descent as well, Callum Chambers and Rob Holding. And he's the sort of guy, you can imagine him sort of what I like to call the Lauren effect. You can imagine him going around kicking the shit out of people in training, putting people up in the air, and essentially doing what he's good at, which is heading a ball, going through people and making strong tackles. The pace element, I do agree with. That is a worry. Again, I'll use the Mertesacker example. If you don't have pace in the Premier League, you're not always cooked, but you damn sure have to have a partner next to you who either reads the game really well or who makes good decisions, which is why the idea of Sokratis and Mustafi does worry me slightly, because you can sort of imagine Mustafi going to try and win a ball that he's got no chance of winning, and Sokratis pushing up alongside him and not winning it either, and 4 players going in behind us. So you can only hope that Emre's seen all that. It's obviously a player he's identified. He trusts in Sven Mislintat, who's obviously brought him here. I think he'll be all right. I share your concerns, and I know he's not a glamorous signing, and he's not somebody that's gonna be up in lights, and I don't think he'll sell many shirts, especially with that name. But I think he'll be solid, and I think particularly with those 3 young centre halves, and I include Chambers in that are coming through, I think he's a good, experienced, safe pair of hands again, like Lichtsteiner, who's going to provide something for us. And if he plays 20 games, great. That's another player. We've all banged on this show for so long about, we've only got 2 centre halves, we've only got 3 centre halves, we've only got 2 midfielders. We've got genuine cover now. He doesn't need to play every week, but if he slots in and he does well, then again, it's a no-brainer signing for the money we've paid, or not paid, as the case may be. Okay,
that's great. I really like that. Thank you, Josh. Another question. I want you to put my mind at rest here. I'm a worrier. I'm not sold on this guy. So he's coming from a Dortmund defence, which, let's be fair, hasn't been good since Hummels left. What's he going to add to us to make us better? What are those strengths Sokratis brings? You know, what are the qualities which is going to earn him a first-team spot? Come on.
Yeah, I think it hasn't been a good defence since, to be honest, Klopp left, because they then brought in two managers that don't really care about defence. If you think Klopp doesn't care about defending, you should see Thomas Tuchel and Peter Bosz.
Bang on.
Neither of them. It was the last thing they thought about. So Sokratis has left, high and dry for a couple of seasons after coming in. And yeah, I think what he will bring us is similar to Lichtsteiner. We're bringing in someone who has experience of other leagues. We've got Callum Chambers, Rob Holding, Mavropanos all coming through. And to have an experienced head that's gone through to the latter stages of the Champions League and also done a lot of decent work whilst he's been there in Germany, he's by no means a bad centre-back. I'd be more worried if we were getting someone that was heavily error-prone or, was just completely broken as a human. A bit like, basically, if we'd signed Koscielny at this point now, I'd be a bit more worried than getting in Sokratis. So I don't think I don't think it's too much of an issue just because of the managers he's had previously. We've now got a guy in who we know is meticulous about every detail. He'll be showing him his mistakes constantly. And to be honest, while Mustafi's spending probably the next 3 months watching his mistakes, we're going to need cover for that.
All right, look, let's keep Mustafi out. To be fair, I think Mustafi's getting a really rum deal at the moment. Mustafi put Dele Alli and bloody Harry Kane in his back pocket last season. There were some wonderful performances from him. Everybody's forgotten about that. So, let's hold off the fucking fort here, because I got to be honest with you. We're either hyping players up to way beyond what they've done, or we're smashing them over the head with a hammer. And poor Mustafi, I'll tell you one thing, he put in some towering performances last season. Let's be even-handed. Dave, right, the final part of my peace of mind and Sokratis. So we've got a guy who's a little bit shell-shocked coming from a defence which nobody cared about, okay, for a number of years. You can see where I'm heading with this, yeah? It doesn't take a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist to work this out. And he's coming into a defence where, hopefully he can get rid of the PTSD and he can settle down, and they are going to concentrate on a bit of defending. Are you positive about this? Do you have my concerns, or what are your thoughts?
On the whole, I'm pretty positive on the basis that I think I only saw Dortmund play twice last season, so I didn't get his full annus horribilis. And the season before, I did see quite a bit of them, and I was quite impressed with him. So let me liken his situation to that of another perhaps unpopular and unsung centre-half in Harry Maguire. I can see Papastathopoulos coming in. If I can say that, I know Danny won't have a go at it, but I can see him carrying alongside one of or two of the younger centre halves that we've got. Mavropanos is likely, Holding or Chambers the other for the pace. Well, maybe not the pace, but I can see him doing a job and improving us and making us less prone to those panics that we've become used to in the last couple of seasons. What do you reckon?
Cult figure as well, isn't he, Jace? Surely, you like a bit of rough. That sounded really wrong. Sorry, it's not John. No, but I mean, he's got the potential, hasn't he? Like, if you look at your national side, for example, you've got like a James Collins type of, is the best way I could describe it, where might not be blessed with all the ability in the world, but he'll always leave his heart on the pitch, and he'll, get the crowd going. You get that impression that if he settles well, he could be a bit of a cult figure like Kolasinac was for a while, I guess.
I've got to be honest, I'm looking at the signings that we got, and else we're going to go through them, and this one's my main concern, because obviously, a pace at the back is what we lack. Mavropanos has got it, the other guys don't. I do think people have used some of these centre halves as an absolute trampoline to trample all over. I think some of the shit thrown at them is unfair. I looked last season at one point, and I'm seeing a certain midfielder's performances being lauded when he's 5 yards off the pace, not even looking at where the ball's coming to him, offering you nothing, and yet all these same people are slamming the centre halves who are just getting caught left, right, and centre, not being covered, and it was worrying. So I'm hoping Sokratis comes in and really surprises me, and helps pull these guys together, and we have 2 or 3 good working partnerships to be able to put into that defence at any given time, because we're going to pick up injuries. It's a long season. We're going to need to tackle Europa League. We need to get back to the Champions League, and that's the easiest way. And as positive as I am, he's going to be a very important signing for us. So that's part and parcel of it. Now, guys, actually, I'm going to stick with you, Chris. Torreira. I've only seen this kid. I've never seen him at Sampdoria, or I've not noticed him, rather. Granted, I've only seen Sampdoria twice last season. Didn't notice him then. Obviously, I've noticed him in the World Cup. Now, as usual, here we go. Arsenal Twitter. Apparently, he's a worldie. Apparently, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I've never, ever, ever heard so much bollocks spoken about over a guy heading a ball whilst on his hands and knees.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I am sorry.
I did laugh at that, I must admit. England player did it once, didn't they?
Yeah.
John Terry, wasn't it? Did it?
Yeah, people, you should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. I've got to be honest. It's like getting a sniff of the barmaid's apron. This is disgraceful. Chris, talk to me about Torreira, please, and give me a little bit of. Don't go all Cavani and Fraud Kaku on
me. Don't make. I almost became a bit of a Cavani fan at the World Cup. Lukaku, let's not go there. He was, yeah. Yeah, he was, absolutely, 100%, yeah. I felt for him, actually, when he got injured, but that's another story. Yeah, so, Torreira. Okay, so there's no easy way of... the trouble is, when you... Josh will sympathise with this, as will Mr. Welsh. When you watch a lot of football around leagues around the world, people say, oh, yeah, you're a big head because you know this player, that player. Well, the fact is, if you have seen a player, you can't sort of deny what you know. And I remember John and I first seeing this lad. It was last season, so it wasn't like we tracked his whole career, but both John and I did see a bit of him at Samp last year, and both of us had the opinion then. We went, this boy's pretty decent. I'm not very technological minded, but I think if you do a Twitter search, if you find keywords or something, I think I did tweet about him around about Christmas time, something like that, just essentially saying this kid could be a very, very good player. He could be a sort of player that could make it a big club. Did I have any idea that Arsenal would be the club? Absolutely none. I hold my hands up. I had no idea. And I don't think at that time we would have been interested, because it was obviously not, it was under the Wenger era then anyway. But based upon what we've seen, I agree with you, Jace. I think some people have... The trouble is, when you sign a player when he's at a World Cup, as you rightly say, everyone then just analyses him on the World Cup games. And he has a few good games, and they go, oh, he's fantastic, he's brilliant, he's this, he's that. Completely forgetting the fact that he's a young lad. He's still got braces, for God's sake. He's coming from a completely different country, which he's already done, going from Uruguay to Italy. He's leaving a mid-table Italian side for the biggest club in London. Yes, Chelsea, that's the biggest club in London. I'm not even going to mention the others. And, he's come alone. I don't think he's got family over here. I don't believe he's got a girlfriend over here. He's got to settle. He's got to acclimatise to the Premier League. The things that make me think that he'll be a success is that he's got a little bit of what a lot of people loved in Jack Wilshere about him, in that he is spiky, he is aggressive, he will put himself around the pitch. The difference is he's got a lot of discipline about him as well, which Jack didn't always have. He will get involved. I have no doubt at all that he'll pick up bookings and probably a few red cards, but he will make tackles, and he uses the ball really, really well. He is a good dead ball striker, although I don't anticipate him being given that responsibility at that age. And I'm not convinced that he'll start the season straight away. But that said, he's a very Emre signing. When Emre had at Sevilla, he had Banega and Krychowiak, and at PSG he had Rabiot and Verratti. He's an ideal sort of player to build around, and I think he sees him as his Verratti at Arsenal, and that's where he's going to try and play him. And of course, Verratti came from Italian football as well, from Pescara. So I'm excited by this one. He is a bit of a a fashionable name. He's got some lovely tattoos, and he looks like a footballer. I know it sounds like a really stupid thing to say, but he looks like a footballer.
It is a stupid thing to say.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? He's mobile. He's got a bit of class about him, and I do think since probably going back as far as Gilberto Silva, we haven't had the player there. I guess the only worry I've got at the moment is the size. But there's a lad called Cesc Fabregas. Once upon a time, he did all right, didn't he? And he was quite small when he arrived. So I don't have any worries. I think he'll acclimatise quickly. And I think the hype is a bit much, but I do think he'll be a really, really good signing and good value for the money we've paid as well. 30 million is nothing.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Chris, I'm just going to put the final nail in your coffin. Kante's not big either, is he?
Absolutely.
I didn't look at him,
Yeah.
Dave, come to you now. One of the things I really liked about this lad, I want you to pass on to Josh afterwards because I want to get some squash because I'm a little bit thirsty. Sorry, listeners, you're going to have to listen to all this. I felt he made himself available a lot. He was there to receive the ball whenever, they got caught, whenever one of his teammates was caught with the ball. Noticed he's very good at making himself available. His movement in possession is as impressive as his movement to destroy out of possession. What are your thoughts, mate?
Absolutely agree with all of that. He was like perpetual motion, wasn't he? And as Chris nicked what I was going to say about him when we spoke about we haven't really had anybody doing what he is very good at since Gilberto Silva left. Maybe the younger version of Flamini was close, but the older one certainly wasn't. But this guy got a lot of time for, having seen him, as Chris says, only in the World Cup, and he'll look better in the World Cup because he's got better players around him. But the good thing about next season is that Arsenal will have better players around him as well. And he should fit in as exactly what we need because, as you said, he's mobile. He doesn't only make tackles. He also throws himself in front of the receiver to deflect balls away and take possession away from them. So, I'm really excited. This is the most exciting one of the lot for me. But, Josh, you may think somewhat differently.
Yeah, I think as you played devil's advocate for Leno, I believe I'll play devil's advocate for Torreira. He is only 22, and there were a couple of mistakes I saw in his game for Uruguay. The play leading up to the fact that he then had to head the ball off the ground was the fact he was trying to dribble it out from the penalty area and getting caught by the attackers. We've been screaming for years to say that our players should be just booting it clear if they've got nothing on. Perhaps he'll have more options at Arsenal to, play a long ball instead of having to play himself out of trouble. But good to see he's got that in his locker, and eventually, with more training, he'll, understand when he'll be able to kick and when to, be able to dribble it out. But I am fairly excited about him coming in. Again, Uruguay have a lot of runners in and around him as well. I was really impressed with Nandez. They've also got Bentancur in there as well, who, for anyone that's watched Juventus for the past...
Okay. Josh. This is not a World Cup show. Stick to Torreira. Stop messing about.
Just talking about his teammates. I haven't watched something.
I couldn't give a monkeys about his teammates. I want to talk about his teammates at the Arsenal. Come on, son.
Okay.
Come on. You can do it.
All right. Give me a sec. So he's not going to have any runners around him like he did at the World Cup. Fuck you, Jace. And that's going to be the difference. Is we're going to have to see how Emery again sets his team up, because we don't have those kind of engines. We could, if we build the team correctly with someone like Rambo and El Neni beside him, then fine. He's got a similar setup that we saw, or most people will have seen him playing. But that's why I just want to keep my powder dry on him, so to speak, and not go too headlong into saying he's, the second coming of Gilberto. I won't say Kante because he can actually pass a ball. Kante can't.
Well, in the World Cup final on Sunday night, Kante is laughing at you. Well, no, I think it's a good point, mate. I think it's a good point. I do think, let's take the pressure off this kid. There's an awful lot of been made of him so far, and it's very difficult. He's got a lot to live up to after having 8 caps? Is it 8?
Yeah, it's not many. This was, I think he just came in. Well, you're talking about the World Cup though, aren't you?
Don't poke the bear, Josh. Don't poke the bear.
I'll go back on.
I'm talking to the player. Be quiet, know your place. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing him. I don't think he's going to be as big a force early doors as some people think, but let's just bring him in and ease him in tidily. You know, there are the players in that squad. You know, you can have Maitland-Niles trying to win a position. You got Ramsey, Mkhitaryan, you got Ozil all around that midfield. Let's wait and see.
Jace, I'll tell you what the other option is that we haven't spoken about is that he gives us the option to go to a diamond midfield, which means we can play with two up top, which is kind of an attractive proposition when you've got Lacazette and Aubameyang.
Oh, just a bit.
I've got to be honest. I look at that. I don't see. I just has Emery ever played a diamond midfield? And
not to my knowledge.
Not to mine, and I'm not sure if the current Premier League is the place to try it.
He has, but it didn't work. That's all I'll say. He tried it at PSG because he tried to play Thiago Motta at the base of it. Now that is probably where it all went wrong because it's Thiago Motta and he's 412 and as mobile as a bus in Jace's street. But he tried it with Motta, with Verratti and Rabiot as the two, and then one in the hole, which I think at the time was Angel Di Maria, which again is not ideal because he doesn't really work very hard. And then I think Cavani and Zlatan as the two at the time. It didn't work, but I would say that's more about the players, and you know, when you've got a player like Zlatan in the team, you've got to build around him. I think it could work. It just depends, doesn't it? Because the problem is, as Dave mentioned, that if you play two up front in the Premier League, you've got to have a bloody good defence. And okay, we don't know what's going to change about Arsenal's defence this season, but unless there's huge strides made from last season, I wouldn't like the idea of four players cutting through our diamond midfield that consists of two players while the other three are caught upfield. That would be my worry. So, you know, maybe try it in Europe. I think it would suit European games more to try that. And if you play a diamond midfield, who you play at the base of it's going to be so key, because if Torreira's still adjusting, you've only really got El Nene, who's a natural in that position, because Xhaka isn't a natural holding midfielder.
I just see him. I may be wrong here, Chris, but coming into this season, I can see him playing two at the base of the midfield.
Me too. I think 4-2-3-1. I said in the group a while ago. I think you'll see Xhaka and Ramsey. If Ramsey's still here, might come on to that later. I think those two will start in the two holding positions, quote unquote, at the start of the season. And I think Lacazette or Aubameyang will rotate as part of the three in midfield behind the one, because I think Ozil and Mkhitaryan pick themselves. And then I think Aubameyang will start the season on the wide of the left or the wide of the right with Lacazette through the middle. And then those two will rotate because both are comfortable drifting wide. And Lacazette's more of a finisher in terms of sort of predator in the box, whereas Aubameyang likes, he will also finish from in the box, but he also likes to pull wide and take a player on. So it's free flowing, isn't it, in theory?
Yeah, I look at this and I just see an awful lot of players this season are going to be rotated. I don't see two up top being used very often. I don't see Aubameyang and Lacazette on the pitch a lot. I see them all.
We've got 76 games in the Europa League group stage to play. So I mean, we've got plenty of time to fanny around, haven't we? That's the time to experiment. When we draw FC Carrier Bag, then that's probably the time to mess about, isn't it? Not Premier League, I think.
On to the last signing we've made. We're going to stay away from Sam Greenwood, guys. You know, he's a youngster. Let's leave it go, okay? Guendouzi. Chris, you're the only one who's seen him. This is feeder league fodder. Talk to me about him.
I knew it'd only be a matter of time before we got feeder league dropped in there.
I'm dependable.
Well, this one actually, of all the signings, this is probably the one that excites me the most, just because I'll go full hipster. But for anyone that doesn't know, Lorient is the team I follow in France. They're in Ligue 2 at the moment, which is the second tier of French football. I followed them a number of years now, actually, since Adier and Koscielny were there. So yeah, they are the team I've sort of followed closely, and he's thought of very highly. At the start of the summer, we would link with Yassine Adli, who eventually was persuaded to stay at PSG. That's what I'm going to say about that. Lots of money. Obviously, when he decided not to come, the very last minute change of heart, it was clear that we wanted a player who we could, a project player, if you like. Guendouzi provides that. He graduated PSG's academy, so he comes from good stock. He made his debut in 2016, so he's still quite fresh. I think he made his debut in Ligue 1 at the time before Lorient were relegated. And Lorient's academy has produced Laurent Koscielny, as we know, so they've got good stock there. Gamero and Gignac also came through that academy. He's 6'1", he's right-footed, so he's a bit of a presence. People have compared him to David Luiz and Adrien Rabiot. It's more about the hair. It's really not a lot of comparison in the two. If anything, he's a hybrid of both. He is combative. He does he does like a challenge. He's got a good level of poise, and he's quite relaxed in the style that he plays. But that also leads to a bit of immaturity, and that's what's probably going to have to be coached out of him at this level. Again, the step up from Lorient is equivalent to going from probably Leyton Orient, ironically, to Arsenal. It's quite a big step up in terms of the size of the club. So Emery will have to coach out some of the wrinkles. He's his maturity side of things. He tends to sort of run into trouble a little bit, sometimes tries to overdo it. When he does it simple, he's very, very good. And something I really like about him in midfield is he's a player who plays with his arms. And what I mean by that is that when he receives the ball, if you're listening to this, you won't be able to see it, but he plays with an arm out. Fellaini does it extremely well, not just the hair link. He's got to watch elbows, obviously, in the Premier League, but I like a player that as soon as he receives the ball, he instantly has an arm out and he tries to hold a player off. And that's something that will do him well. And because he's got such long legs and he's quite lanky, I think that will give him the opportunity to carry the ball. And he is a good dribbler. But his defensive side of things is probably what's going to get him game time. He's really scrappy. He likes a challenge. He'll go after a player for a ball. One slight air of caution. This story, when he signed him, I think a few people picked up on this, and I remember the game. I remember actually watching this very game this happened. He was playing for Lorient against Stade Valenciennes last November. And at half-time, there was an incident with Michael Landreau, the Lorient manager, which resulted in him being suspended for the best part of 10, I think it was 3 months, nearly 10 games, that he sent to suspension. And the rumour was that he was being a bit of a diva, and his financial demands were described by Landreau as onerous. So I don't think he was particularly impressed. And it was at that point, really, when Guendouzi's future was clearly done. His contract was up at the end of the next season, so they had to sell him for some money. And obviously, he's a confident lad, so that's not a bad thing. But much the same as Rabiot in that degree, maybe needs to be reined in a little bit. But I genuinely think we've got a player who could make the step forward, and he's represented France at under 18, 19 and 20 level. He's actually half Moroccan, so he had the choice to represent either country. And one other just fun facts, I know Danny loves these, his pass completion in his entire term in Lorient's colours, which albeit was only sort of 30-odd games, 90% are above pass completion. So he uses the ball well. And all I'll finish with is I'll say that, yes, he is going to be a project player, and he will be a player that will be in and amongst the first team and what you call an old-fashioned Carling Cup player. By Christmas, I think he'll be on the bench and challenging for first team spot. I think he's potentially that good if he's given the games, and I think he'll play a lot of Europa League. So yeah, I'm excited by him.
We have blocked him from going to the under-19s, haven't we?
We have indeed. Yep, absolutely. So
for a French tournament.
And by all accounts, from what George Bird has said, and a few French journalists I follow have said the same. Apparently, even in the few short days he's been training, Emre has already been really impressed with how he's settled and his sort of his ability to settle into the club, and he's taking responsibility in training already. That's a really good sign of a player of that age who, he clearly has come to a big club and wants to make an impression. So, yeah.
Let's be fair. If you're going to come to a club like Arsenal, and be a shrinking violet, it's not the right place for you.
No. Yeah. And you think back to when, again, I know Fabregas is a bad example because too bad a comparison, but you remember when we signed him? Everyone said, "Oh yeah, he's a project player," but within 6 months, our midfield was built around him. So he's one to watch, and he can't hide with that hair. So
no, you can't. It's getting a lot of attention going to be on him. Josh, do you know anything about this lad? Anything to add to that?
The only thing I had to add was the fact that we blocked him going to the under-19s tournament that is later this summer.
Cool. Dave, anything?
The only thing that concerns me is I think I saw a stat on him today in his 26 games he's played in the league. He has 1 assist and no goals scored. For a midfielder who is likely to be playing in I would thought, box-to-box role, that's the only concern. But he's, as you say, he's learning. He's a young lad, and 6 months' time down the line, he'll be a different player entirely, I hope.
Absolutely, pal, absolutely.
I think he had 2 shots the whole of last season, so that backs up what Dave said. He's not he's more of a deeper creator than a guy who's going to provide in the final third. So that's, like Dave said, that's an area to work on, definitely.
Okay, cool. Right. Those are the ins so far, guys. Quick couple of shout-outs. Nicky Wilson, Matthew Hudson, Junior Gunner, Ashley Morris, Nina's 97's there, Jove82, Ali D. How the devil are you all? People, there's 140 whatever watching right now. I got 41 likes. What do you think you're doing? What do you think this is? A charity? We dish this content out. I want some thumbs up. Come on, tappy. Let's get going. Thank you very much. Gary Powell, you get a shout out too, fella. Way, they're all free. Sorry. We're having a bit of fun. Yeah, but come on, hit that like button, please. Really appreciate it if you do. Now, there are a few rumours flying around, guys. I want to start off with Josh on this. Okay, there's a name that continually is mentioned. Oh, sorry, Chris Tunmo's there as well. He's the wrestler, isn't he? Yeah, that's Chris, the wrestler Tunmo.
Good man.
And Rudy Rastos there. Hold up, it's only 51. Come on, get on it for crying out loud. Come on, let's do it. Honest to fuck. You think that all the effort I put into this, I got 51 likes. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
That's just for Josh's beard.
Oh, thanks, Chris. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Yeah, that'll be the only thing. So don't,
Right, to those not listening on YouTube, I do apologise. I'm just losing the will to live. Right, guys. Okay, I'm going to start with Josh on this. There are rumours circulating, and this may be ITK nonsense. I don't know. Pablo Dybala.
Oh.
Bear with me now. Okay, because there's more to this. So obviously the talks of Dybala's going to be leaving Juventus. If Dybala's to leave, okay, and if we were interested, and if we are talking to him, and I'm not sure if we are or not, but do you think it could be a certain German moving the other way to rejoin Ronaldo at Juventus?
No, I couldn't see that happening. I think Mesut's always here for the long run. I don't actually think Dybala will be leaving Juve either. I think what he's got going there at the moment is great. I think if he's going to leave, the Premier League wouldn't be his ultimate destination. I think he's more of a La Liga player rather than a player that would suit the English game. So, yeah, it does kind of scream a little bit of, how we ended up with Mesut. We, a big team, signed a world-class big player and we snuck in and, took a little bit of the cream off the top of their squad to help balance the books. But I think if anybody's leaving that club, it's going to be Higuain, and just to make space for Ronaldo. I think Dybala's still got a future there. And I think it is, as you say, ITK nonsense.
You just created a hashtag there, Josh. Hashtag squad cream. Liking that. Liking that a lot.
Dave, your thoughts on this Dybala business? As we know, there's been plenty of nonsense around ITKs recently, and there are some people out there who, by God, they need help. They seriously need to talk to somebody, or they need to get out of the house. They need to do something. But Emery's arrived at this. Apparently, the triumvirate of Sanyehi, Mislintat, and what's his name? Gazidis is the second coming of Jesus, Moses, and I don't know. I don't have a clue. I'm been chapel.
Freeman, Hardy, and Willis, more like.
Yeah. You know, this Dybala business, is it just nonsense? Do you agree with Josh, or do you think there could be something in it?
I agree with Josh, and I think he's nailed the salient points. I don't think Dybala will particularly be eyeing the Premier League as a potential destination. There's certainly an argument that says Juve need to get some money in to help out with the Ronaldo thing. But again, Josh has covered that. Higuain is almost certainly the one to lose out because they're going to be playing Ronaldo in the areas that he wants to play. The only logical step that could bring about him coming in would be Aaron Ramsey going out. And I'd like to think we're still working on keeping him. But that's all I've got on Dybala.
Okay, well, let's stick on that final point then. Everybody seems to agree that Dybala is nonsense. So let's go on to Aaron Ramsey. Chris, you had some, you had a bit of information earlier on. Expand on it, pass it around the guys. Let's get into it.
Yeah, well, it's you said about ITK nonsense there. I just want to immediately distance myself from that. This is news that's broken in France this evening from RMC, who, if people aren't aware, are a very established and well-known outlet, shall we say. There is suggestion that Arsenal have put in a bid/inquiry. The two things are very different, I have to stress, but the word used to me was bid for Adrien Rabiot. Now, that suggests to me there's one of two things going on here, I think. Well, one of three things. Either Veronique Rabiot, who's his partner, who's very much, how do I put this? Very much a situation where he's kind of very easily led, essentially. Let's put it that way. And when it comes to contracts and when it comes to how or where he's going to play his football and for how much money, he's very, very much led. And there's been a lot of talk recently that Rabiot is interesting Barcelona, which I find a bit weird because I thought Verratti would be a better fit given they've lost Xavi and Iniesta. But he's not impressing Thomas Tuchel at PSG in the way that he's openly flirting with other clubs. So there's one of three things happening. Either he's actively looking for a move, or he's looking for a new contract with improved terms, which I find a bit strange given that he didn't actually make the France World Cup squad. Maybe he's just trying to stay relevant, or maybe Arsenal are just testing the water in case Ramsey's deal doesn't go well. Emery's press conference today, I thought it was quite telling, and that obviously he was asked the obvious question about Ramsey, and he said, yeah, he's a player that he's been really impressed with his attitude. He's a player he really wants to work with. I thought that line was key. I really want to work with Aaron Ramsey. I thought that was really key. The player himself looks quite happy and quite settled. But as you know, Jace, Ramsey's agent is a bit of a shicer and potentially wants to line his pockets, and his client, he knows, is worth a lot of money potentially. So I think this is probably not going to go anywhere. If I had to put money on it, I think it's more likely that this is just Arsenal testing the water. But Emery's comments today about transfers, initially he said, we're pretty much done. Then he said, well, we are a big club, and if one becomes available, we might look at it. And by the end of the presser, he said one, maybe two. So I'm not convinced we're completely done in the market. But as Dave and Josh both alluded to there, I think it will take a serious player leaving for us to be active for a player like Rabiot. And I think Ramsey I don't know if you'd agree, Jace, but I think he's the most saleable asset we've got now. And particularly if he was to go to a Premier League club, I think there'd be a lot of very cheesed off Arsenal fans because, he would get into pretty much every Premier League midfield right now. And I do genuinely think he would probably command interest from some of the bigger clubs. He's a player that has proven people like myself wrong, particularly since getting back to fitness. So he's a player I think Emery would like to build a midfield around. But Emre is not a guy that will fuck about. If there's any doubt about his future, he will be gone, and we will replace him. So, and the only other thing to add to it is people saying, "Oh yeah, but Rabiot is not the same sort of player as Ramsey." It's completely irrelevant. You don't always sign like for like. You sign what you want to work with. So, yeah,
you sign for the ambition.
Yeah,
no, I agree with you. Look, the flip side of this all. Okay, everybody's having to go to the agent, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. The agent wants the best deal for his clients. If you're Aaron Ramsey and you've seen Mesut Ozil get 400 grand a week and pick and choose his games last season and not turn up and hide in games, okay, and yet you've contributed to 20 plus goals, worked your balls off every single game, you turn up, you're always brave, you never hide, and then the club are trying to scrimp on your wages. I got to be honest with you. If I'm him, I'm off ski. I say, fuck you. I'll go elsewhere. I'll run my contract down and I'm gone. And what are you going to do about it? Sell me. Fine. It's not a problem. And so I'm going to go to Dave with this. So Dave,
Can I just correct myself very quickly, Jace? Because how social media works. Veronique, sorry, is Rabiot's mother. I think I said partner. Rabiot's mother is Veronique, but his partner has.
God!
So just to clarify, for anything since there's any going on or anything like that. So just to clarify.
Shock news on ABW Live. Shock news. Rabiot and his mum. It's on.
It's on. It's a done deal.
We're only joking. We're sorry. Sorry, Rabiot's mum. So Dave, if Aaron Ramsey takes that point of view of, well, hold up here, you're trying to shaft me on the contract, you're prepared to pay Mesut Ozil for picking and choosing games, for hiding, for putting in pretty much a piss-poor 2018. And it was, I'm sorry, I love Mesut Ozil, but I expect better of play of his quality. And yet you've contributed all this, you never hide, you get all the shit. What are your thoughts, mate? Where do you go with this? How do you see it unfolding?
Well, first, we don't share a view about Mesut. I don't think it was his best season last season, and I think there were reasons behind it. Hopefully,
he didn't travel north of the Watford Gap. Okay, he didn't travel north of the Watford Gap, and some could say even when selected, he didn't turn up. Come on.
Some would. I wouldn't. I wouldn't agree with that at all. But
come on, Dave.
The only point I was making was I think there's a reason why he was used sparingly last season. Now we're talking about Aaron and the reflection on his situation. Once you're paying Mesut whatever you're paying him, and I've seen various numbers. I've even seen people flatly deny it's 350k a week, more like 290. I don't know the answer to that. But once you're paying one player that amount, the others are going to want to have their earnings uplifted. If Aaron's agent thinks that the club can afford Ozil-size wages for Aaron, then I think that's where we're going to have a problem. And if he sticks his foot in the ground and won't be moved, then I think those are the circumstances in which probably Gazidis will say, well, he's not staying here for a year and then walking away for nothing. That's my honest view. So I think, yes, there's a 50-50 chance that he goes.
Yeah, no. I think, obviously, let's make this clear. None of us know exactly what's happening. Okay, none of us do. I know, but
exactly that.
And none of us know the figures involved, and it's all, we're just shooting the shit on this. Let's be honest. But I'm just trying to stir Dave up. But we don't know where negotiations are at.
How late would you leave it, Jace? Let's ask you that question. I mean, how late? Because the transfer window shuts or slams shut in what, less than a month now. There's this new ruling where everything's got to be done before the start of the season. Yeah. There's only a certain amount of clubs that could realistically afford, Aaron Ramsey, and there's only a certain amount of clubs where he'd actually, be able to play. I think at the level that he wants to be at. How late do you leave it? Because we don't want to be going into August the 7th or whenever it is the window shuts thinking about, because do you remember the Sanchez situation with Man City?
Yeah,
It was a farce at the end, wasn't it?
Look,
you can't replace like for like on the last day, can you?
No, you can't. I mean, I'd look at this from two perspectives, okay? As we were talking before this podcast, if I'm Aaron Ramsey, and for argument's sake, I've said, look, I want X amount a week. You don't know what the situation is. Let's be clear, okay? And, you think it's fair in comparison to what's happening within the club. And the club are nowhere near that. To be honest with you, I look, taking my Arsenal hat on, I look at the shit he's had at this club and the grief he still gets, and I think, screw this, I'm going. I know I'll pick up a big club. I know I'll increase my wages. I don't care. I don't think Aaron Ramsey thinks like that, first and foremost. From the club's perspective, they want to get Ramsey down to a long-term deal, either to sell on or to make, to build a team around, because, he's reliable in what he does on the pitch. Him, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Mkhitaryan, Ozil, there's something that you need to build around to develop other players to come in to challenge. But they have a figure in mind as well. We don't know what the sticking points are. If I'm the club, I've got to be honest with you. Now is the time for me. Now is the time where it needs to be done. Now, there may be an agreement in place. This may be us talking, blowing hot air over absolutely nothing. It might well be done already, and they're just taking their time, letting people discuss it and creating a bit of excitement over it, and then they'll announce it. Who knows? But, for me, if I'm in Exeed's shoes, now's the time it needs to be signed, or you need to know you have an agreement in principle. Otherwise, he's got to go. And the flip side for Rambo as well, if he is talking to other clubs, and I have no idea, I don't think so, but, I genuinely have no idea, you would have a place where you'd want to go at this moment in time. There would be feelers out. We all know this. Josh, what's your opinion on it?
Well, I think that, to be honest, I put most of my blame on the agent rather than the club or the player. I think because he started his new agency and this is his big client, he needs to show to, prospective other clients that he can get them big deals at their big club. And if he gets put over a barrel by Arsenal, which, to be honest, we probably could, he's just going to go and look elsewhere, because from his point of view, with a brand new agency and he's got to build a whole new repertoire of clients, then he's got to try and get the best deal possible for his client and milk it for as much as he can. And I think that's where we're
Josh,
at.
The one thing I would say to that is I don't think Aaron Ramsey is that type of guy. Aaron Ramsey will know what he wants to do, where he wants to go. Whether it be with Arsenal or whether it be elsewhere, he will know. All this blaming.
So if Rambo wants to stay at Arsenal, fine. He's got said to his agent, I want to stay at Arsenal, get me the best deal. That's all he said. He doesn't care if he's getting 200 grand, 210, or, I've got to score 10 goals, I've got to score 15 goals if I get an extra bit of goal bonus. He's not that fussed about it. He's waiting for his agent to come back and say, you know what, Rambo, you scored 10 goals this season. I've just secured you an extra £1 million bonus. He's going to go, great, happy days. As you say, he's not that kind of player that's motivated by the money, but if someone comes to you and says, do you know how you were on 100 grand a week? Well, now you're on 250 rather than 200. They're both happy with the situation that they're left with.
And he's never come out, Josh, has he? He's never been a player that, for all the talk, I know that, he's got a lot of, he's had a lot of stick, hasn't he, for coming out in the press and saying, I'd quite like to play in Spain. And, I don't see that as a problem. I mean,
when did he not say that, though?
Sorry, I'll clarify when that was said. That was said in a Welsh press at the Euros when one of the journalists asked him, "Oh, there are reports linking you with Barcelona."
Yeah.
I mean,
what do you and it was the standard, I'm honoured to be linked to Barcelona.
And then all of a sudden,
And all of a sudden, everybody gets the hump stay and he thinks he's good enough or he wants to go.
Yeah.
It's utter nonsense.
And we wouldn't want one of our players to turn around and go, oh, Barcelona are keen, are they? Well, I don't really think I'm that good. You don't want to hear that. I mean, he's an ambitious guy. And if I know you can't read into these things too much. I'm sure some people can, certainly people who like meerkats. But if you look at body language based upon this back, behind the scenes training footage we're seeing, Ramsey looks like a happy player to me. He looks like a player who's content, who's knuckling down. He actually looks like a player to me who's sort of saying, "Hey, I could be captain of this club here." And he's probably the last of the real. I don't want to go into the Wenger thing, but he's the last of the players that I think Arsene thought would be the future of the club from that era. Jack's gone now. He's got if all the numbers work, I don't see any reason why he'd want to leave. It's all going to come down to whether the numbers work, and if we offer him a contract which is derisory, which, let's be honest, we do have a little bit of form with, like you, Jace, I wouldn't blame the player if he chose to try somewhere else, but I hope he stays, because I do genuinely think that there's still a few areas of his game that frustrate me, but he's a creative player and that's always going to be there, and he is the last of that generation that could take us to another level, I think.
It's a strange situation at the moment. I've got to be honest there, of course, look, there's no contract being signed. But if you look at what's happening on the training pitch, as you say, if you look at, the goodbye, the social media goodbye to Jack, those guys have been friends for a long time with this club. They've gone through a lot together, injuries, FA Cups, the emotional roller coaster. I don't think there's anything I'm too worried about, to be honest there. And, as much as I love Aaron Ramsey, if he goes, he goes. The club carries on. It's as simple as that. So that's the Ramsey situation. So, Josh, I'm going to start with you. Before we go to questions, what's your overall feelings at the moment? Are you positive about what's happened? Are you excited? Are you weary? Where are you at with it all?
In terms of incomings, I would say we're up near to put a figure on it, like 8 out of 10. I'm pretty content with who we brought in and the business. The only thing that is, I wouldn't say worrying, just something to note. In terms of outgoings, not a single player has gone out on loan yet. So that's the only thing with all these players that were saying, they want to stay. Well, Emery's got to have a look at these guys, but it's just something to raise as a point. We haven't let anyone go out on loan.
We have time for that, don't we?
Yeah, we've got time. It's just something to point out, that because I'm sure questions are going to cover, will these players leave? Will this player come in? Just something to say that, we haven't let anyone out on loan yet. So
I think that's a big positive as well, Josh.
Yeah.
Because I think it's clearly got a manager here. We've all read about Emery's attention to detail. Here's a manager, Lucas Perez is another prime example. We've got a manager now who isn't just going to say, again, bless, when Arsene said the Greek boy. We've clearly got a manager now who's going to say, I don't care if this guy's from Hackney or Timbuktu. I want to have a look at him with my own eyes before I decide. And I think that's good. And there's a lot of youngsters that are training, with the first team at the moment. I think I read somewhere, I think it might have been George Bird, they expect up to 8 to go on loan. And I think a few of those might end up being permanent. So, and we know who's going to go on loan. I mean, Akpom and Campbell will probably be sold. I think Willock needs a loan now. Maybe even a higher profile player like an Iwobi. I wouldn't like to see that personally.
I think the only one that might have gone on a loan already is Asano, but I think that was announced before even.
Oh yeah, and he's 100% not first team. Maybe ever, but yeah, he'll go back to Germany, I think, for another year.
Okay, Dave. Do you expect any others in? Do you think there's going to be a couple more signings? What are your thoughts?
I wouldn't be at all surprised to see another couple in. What I do like about what we've done already is that we've identified the areas that generally people were agreed on were weak, and we've strengthened them. With one possible exception, we haven't got that natural winger, that natural wide player. Instead, we're likely to be using Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang or Lacazette in those wide areas. But I think if a quality winger became available, real top notch, then I think that will probably be the end of the acquisitions for the summer. And I'm really excited with what we've already done. Never mind if we add someone else as well. I'm really positive about the season coming. Just hope we hit the ground running. There's no guarantee, but I'm excited about it.
I gotta be honest with you. If somebody's not excited about this season, I think they need their head checked. I gotta be honest with you. I mean,
they need a checkup from the neck up.
Exactly. Whether these guys that have been brought in succeed or fail, they've been given a platform to do it. We've addressed areas. I don't see a transfer window as a success or as a failure, because you don't know what the individual managers' targets are. You don't know what their ambitions are. But I think from a layman's perspective, Shelney's out. There's a centre back coming. We've got some good youngsters coming through. Cover for Hector, superb. Jack's gone out. There's another 2 midfielders coming. One maybe a long-term project. Is AMN going to be a midfielder? Is he going to be a wing back or something? We just don't know what's going to happen. So, there's been some intelligent signings. Good or bad is yet to be proven. But I do expect to see 1 or 2 sneaky ones come in. Chris, do you agree? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I touched on it earlier on, but I just thought Emre's press conference answers were very interesting. And like I said, earlier, he very much started as we're pretty much done. Aside from, I think he mentioned that he's quite keen on young players who could be with the club for a long time, like Guendouzi, obviously. Then he changed it to, but we are a big club, which we are. We should always be in the market if the right opportunity comes along, i.e., the big fish, the Ozil situation. And then by the end of it, as I said, he's then saying 1 or 2, which sort of, it could just be, he could be playing the press game. Our very own chief fanny, Simon Collins, was at the press conference today, shook Emery's hand, in fact. So it might be worth plugging.
Was that his hand?
Well, as I said to him in the group, I have it on good authority. That is the hand that Emery shook Simon with is actually the hand he uses to scratch his left testicle. So I'm not actually sure Simon got the right end of the deal there. There's a bit of a Yogi Love situation going on there. But no, in all seriousness, it might be worth asking Simon about his demeanour when asked that question. All managers nowadays, whether it's Mourinho or Allardyce or Emery, they're all going to give you a fairly stock answer. They're not going to sit there and go, well, yeah, well, unless it's the Dildo brothers at West Ham who seem to want to sign everyone this summer. But most managers will say, yeah, we've got these in, we're happy. If another one comes available, yeah, we'll have a look. It's a very safe answer. He's not going to give you names, but what we have to remember is the World Cup is still technically on, Alain Leblanc. And until that is done, you've got players on holiday. You've got players negotiating contracts. You've got players who are becoming free agents, and as of July, there's all sorts going on. I still think there's room, like Dave's hit the nail on the head, for a wide forward or a wide player. I think if that happens, you will see somebody like a Welbeck or an Iwobi potentially moved on. The one that is interesting to me at the moment is this information about Rebic, the Croatian player, is a player I really like, and said prior to the World Cup I was quite excited to see him, and he hasn't done anything that's led me to think otherwise, that he's not a good player. I think he's very, very talented. Bayern Munich are sniffing because he's playing for Eintracht Frankfurt at the moment. Had a really good season in the Bundesliga, and he's aggressive and he can play both sides or through the middle. And he sounds like a dream to work with, and he reminds me a lot of what Emre had at PSG in terms of how he utilised Mbappe, how he utilised Neymar, and before that Di Maria and Draxler to a degree, where he could play them across any of the 3 positions. And I think if a player like Rebic came available at the right price, I'd like to see us have a sniff. But if you're talking about things like Dybala and that, I'm not sure that sort of caliber player is on the radar at all. But I wouldn't be surprised if we went in. But if you said to me now, this is your squad, you're going into the season. I think we've done well. Who else has made big signings? You know, Fulham have bought Seri today. That's a fantastic signing, but that's Fulham. Mahrez has gone to Man City. What have Chelsea done? Not a lot. Man United, have they done much? Liverpool have still got Karius, so that's Liverpool.
Leave poor Karius alone.
Sorry, he's had a year concussion. I'm sorry. Although they have obviously gone for Fabinho, and the Fekir thing is still ongoing. But I wouldn't say that any of the big five have Spurs bought anyone. They haven't, have they? Don't think they've touched anybody.
They're still trying to sell Dembele to China.
Oh, of course, and still trying to find out if Dele Alli can stay on his feet for more than a season. So I think if anything, we've stepped forward. And it's quite weird that Arsenal getting their business done early. It feels like a parallel universe. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it. So let's see what happens. One thing's for sure, ABW deadline day might not be very exciting this year. So we might have to cancel that one.
When's it ever been exciting? When has it ever been exciting?
It would just be Danny just sat rotating in his chair for an hour, just in silence. Maybe a monkey in the background like that with symbols. There's just be nothing else going on.
In his new ABW Live T-shirt, no less.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is. What is it? 8XL or something? Something like that.
No comment. Josh. There's been talk about Dembele. Do you think we're done? Do you can see a couple of cheeky transfers coming in, a loan deal? Where do you see us at the moment, mate?
Oh, Dembele is a difficult one. Assuming we're talking about Ousmane Dembele, the Frenchman at Barcelona. If you said this to me in January, I would have said, yep, Barcelona, they're going to want to get id of him. But he had a superb latter end of the season, and I think that has basically saved his Barcelona career when he went a little bit off the rocks with the whole kind of moving over again. And I think he just didn't have the right crowd around him initially in Spain. I think he's going to stay there. I think they'll keep hold of him.
Okay, cool. Dave, anything to add before we go to questions?
Nah, let's go to the questions, mate. I'm needing a drink.
Okay, right on. First of all, I want to say thank you to Josh for sorting the questions out, because I'd lost the will to live. I got to be honest with you, I was done. Half of me, when my sound went, I thought, should I just leave? Go get your drink quickly, go on.
No, I'll sit there for the questions.
Okay, I'm going to start with you then, Dave. Drunk Cat Phil asks, what do you think of Emery's 5 captains comment from today?
I think it's absolutely bloody wonderful. Assuming he actually named Koscielny as being currently in hold of the position, and I think that kind of makes him the successor to Mertesacker as the club captain, not necessarily a playing one. And then I'd like to think that he's going to build a spine of a goalkeeping captain, a defensive captain, a midfield captain, and a striking captain. And that makes an awful lot of sense, because we've lacked that number of leaders for a while. Whether we have them, whether we've bought them, is another matter. But I like the idea a lot. Good question.
Okay, to be fair, we've always spoken about this, haven't we, Chris? You should have leaders all over the park. There should always be people to pick up and to take the team forward. I don't think it's anything new, but again, it's really good to hear. Chris, Chris for this. Arian asks, why haven't we gone in for Joris? Who's that?
Yang Yong.
Yeah, who's adding questions while I'm trying to read? It's you, Josh. It's you.
God, Josh.
The listeners are asking questions just as you asked them, and now you're moaning because they're asking
job,
questions.
Josh. One job.
Right, while you're moaning, I added another couple more in.
I know you. Chris, Janyon, or Malang, Sari, what's happening? Why?
So Loris Yangyong and Malang Sarr was Arian's. I think I answered it actually in the box at the time. I just said that they're both young, progressive centre backs, but they're both players that could do with another season in Liga. So that's kind of addressed that one. Did you say about Seri as well?
Yeah, I want to ask Seri as well.
Yeah, a few people have said a few rather stupid things about this on Twitter today. I mean, I know people say silly things on Twitter. Who'd have thought? But yeah, a lot of people have sort of mocked the player almost and said, you're linked with Barcelona and now you've gone to Fulham. Ha, 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 ha. I actually feel quite sorry for Seri, which is quite hard to say after a few beers. I genuinely think that's an absolutely fantastic move for Fulham. Do you remember when they had the wardrobe, Papa Bouba Diop, when they were in the Premier League before?
Yeah.
Almost reminds me of that type of player, obviously completely different stature, but he's a player that I think will do really, really well at Fulham. And I think within a year, much like N'Golo Kante at Leicester, where he has one brilliant season and then goes to Chelsea and is worth God knows what, I think the same will happen with Sarri. His game is built for the Premier League. He's mobile. He's very good distributor of the ball. He takes the ball for the defence. He can join attacks. He's very creative. He's a good tackler. And I think, I'm glad he's gone to Fulham, so I don't have to hate him at Chelsea. But I think a few clubs have missed out there. I think we probably would have gone for him had we not got the Torreira deal in place. I think we've obviously chosen for Torreira over him. And they've got him at Steele. So I'm surprised at that. And Chelsea seemed to be keen on, John did say, they were going in for some, I can't remember who it was. And Man City have obviously gone for Jorginho. So, yeah, and the Barcelona thing, he got absolutely fucked over that. Barca were all keen, and then they pulled the plug at the last minute, and he was left to play out for Nice for another season, and it affected him mental health-wise quite a bit. I gather he was really quite low for the rest of the season. So, people are human, and his promo shot in a Fulham shirt, he didn't look. It was a bit. Do you remember when Aaron Lennon signed for Everton? He had that face that everyone mocked on Twitter. He was just like stony-eyed. It looked a bit like that. But no, I think he'll do well, and I wouldn't say we've missed out as so far as we've done our business. But I do think that maybe in 2 years people might look at this deal and go, fucking hell, why didn't we sign him when we could have done? Do you know what I mean? So we shall see. I may be wrong, but he's a player I really like, so I hope he does well.
Yeah, look, good luck to him as long as we beat them twice this season.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Josh, Christian Anderson asks, do you think praise from Emery towards Ramsey is a sneaky part of the negotiation for a new contract by the club? Besides being genuine from Emery, do you think Emery genuinely fancies Rambo, or do you think it's part of the negotiation?
I think it certainly helps that with a new manager coming in, the guy coming in has got to make sure that, the players he wants to keep know that he likes them, and by saying it publicly, that's the best way. Saying it to him in training, that positive reinforcement is great, but hearing that in a press conference is going to add another level to it. And we know how much Arsenal loved Aaron Ramsey and vice versa, so I'm sure that him leaving would have been a big thing for him. But yeah, as you say, he's got to start doing it publicly, and in his first press conference to bring it up shows how important that this is. And this player is to him, that he wants to keep hold of him.
I agree. No more questions. We're doing these and we're off, okay? No more. Right? Right. Ariane asks again, what happens to Ainsley Maitland-Niles? Well, I'll answer this one. Ainsley Maitland-Niles comes off the back of his sort of real debut season at the club. He did very well last season. Now he has to impress the new manager. Now he has to go out and earn his place. This goes for Iwobi. It goes for all the youngsters. I don't think they're going to have a man who'll indulge them anymore. I think whereas Arsene would indulge the youngsters on occasion, I think this bunch of youngsters now know their careers at the Arsenal. They've got to work at it and work hard. I think Maitland-Niles has got the right attitude to succeed. I really do. I look at him, his nonchalant sort of mannerism winds me up a treat. It really does. But my God, he's confident on the ball, and good luck to him. Let's hope he pushes for first team honours the season. It would be nice to see. But I think AMN keeps on doing what he's been doing, and he'll be okay. Dave, Mad Wired asks, I think Lacazette will be our starting striker. Unai's a huge fan of him when he's at PSG. Plus, he likes a striker to be involved in the build-up play. And that's not Auba. Do you agree, or do you see things differently? Do you think Aubameyang's pace is going to have an impact on this? Or how do you see this working out?
I think actually you were right earlier when you said he's probably going to stick with a 4-2-3-1, and one of them is going to be playing out wide on the left. They'll probably alternate, although actually last season it was Aubameyang every time when the two of them played together. I do like the idea of them both being in the side because they do both bring different finishing abilities to the side. But it's a very good question, and one that he's kind of answered himself, I think.
Yeah, I think if you're going away from home and you want to play a slightly more defensive game, Aubameyang up top, you need that gas. Lacazette hasn't got the gas, but you utilise them for the scenario, don't you? It's the best way to do it.
Well, I think Lacazette showed over the second half of the season he has. I think during the first half of the season he was hampered by an injury, but no, I like the fella.
Aubameyang's gas is a different level. I mean, Chris will tell you, Aubameyang's not the quickest. His first 5 yards is up top. The guy thinks 2 steps ahead of everybody else. But we'll wait and see what happens. It's going to be exciting.
Just quickly, Jace, on Aubameyang, I promise I'll be quick. I just want to hold my hands up here and say, at the time, I think a few who'd followed Dortmund and certainly St Etienne time shared the same concerns. When we signed him, I was very much on the fence. I was like, if we get the Aubameyang that's is driven and is motivated and is hungry, we'll sign a hell of a player, and 60 million might actually be a bargain. And I think that's coming to pass so far, albeit half a season. But something I really like about Aubameyang, and not everyone will be a fan of the fact he has, diamonds on his football boots and 84 Ferraris and, loves the Snapchat and all that. It's not for everyone, but it's the modern era. As old as we are, it's not our sort of game anymore. Something that I do really like about him, though, is that he's so positive, and he looks like a player who's really, really happy at Arsenal, and I think that's infectious. He's got a really good friendship with Lacazette, which is a bonus when you've got two players competing for essentially the same role. He's going to work well with Mkhitaryan and Özil. And it's just really nice to see a player who seems to be enjoying his football, and a player who's got a personality. We've got a game now where so much is held back, and there's so many players who won't speak to the press, and we're all it's all about me. I just think it's really refreshing to have a centre forward. When you think what we have with Adebayor and all of his issues, we've got a player who just really wants to play for Arsenal, and even trivial things like whenever he went on holiday, didn't he, somewhere, and he's in the gym and he's wearing Arsenal shirt and kit. Last season's shirt, he was wearing it just in the gym. And I just think it's trivial, and he's playing the social media game, but I just think that's really good. It's a really positive side for a player that I was worried about at the time,
Chris, don't get me wrong. I said on here, and I don't think it's a trivial point, because I was not sold at Aubameyang. You can see the talent, but he always struck me as hit and miss. His attitude on the pitch, giving Lacazette the penalty. Do you know what I mean? The little things, the way Dortmund genuinely was sorry to see him go. There were no hard feelings, unlike the Dembele situation. This guy's come in and endeared himself to the squad. It's starting to endear himself to the fans early doors. I think Aubameyang surprised me. He's really surprised me in a positive manner, and I don't think any of it is trivial. I think it's really positive. It's another reason to be excited for the season.
Good with the youngsters as well.
Yeah, lots of little blocks make the pyramid.
Yep.
And if you can get these things in place, you're on your way, and it's exciting to see. Jove82 asks about additional business. Sorry, Jove, we've answered that already, but thank you for the question. You're always a top man, mate. Nicky Wilson, stop being a prat. Fucking exchange rate. I'm going to get you, Nicky Wilson. Josh, Alonso Spencer asks, would Beckham, Perez work well together in Europe?
That's a good one. Maybe, but I've got a sneaking suspicion we're going to be using Lacazette as our first choice striker in Europe, and keep Aubameyang for the league, because I think we'll only deploy one striker across it. I know you're upset, Chris, because Lacazette might not shine in that respect. But
No,
I think for to be honest, you know, we're going to come out with a 4-3-3, and yeah, I think for a central striker, we'll end up with Aubameyang, or I don't think we'll see both. So I think Lacazette will take up that space. Yeah, I could see Welbeck and Perez work together, but I'm trying to mentally fit them in my head into a formation that would work together, and I think it's, you know, they're both taking up that left wing kind of position. If that's how they go out.
Surely both don't stay though. Surely.
No, stop. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh might have caused Chris to have a fit.
No, I don't have any objections. I just can't see it. I can't see how you play a £50 million striker in. We had to last year because we had no options with Aubameyang cup tied. I can't see it. I can see, if we get to the latter stages, I can see him rotating those two first choice strikers. But in the early rounds, let's be honest, Jace, me, you and Dave could play up front and Josh could supply us and we'd get goals against, you know, whoever we play in the group stages.
Hey, I could supply Aubameyang. It'd be fun.
We could just wheel Danny into the penalty area and just flick shots in off his chair. I mean, that would be... So, no, I don't know. I completely understand what Josh is saying. I can't see it. And I think I don't think there's any way that we go into the season with Joel Campbell, Alex Iwobi, Lucas Perez and Danny Welbeck in the first team squad. Two of those are going to go, surely. It's just a question of who. And I think probably, I actually like Welbeck, but I think he's under threat. I think Perez, like Steve has said, it's actually quite nice to see a player come back and he's come back early for pre-season. By all accounts, he's trying to make an impression. Emery knows him well from Sevilla days. I think, like Steve said, the Spanish-speaking element of Perez might get him a little bit of favour if he works hard. I think Iwobi, it's a really big pre-season for Iwobi. I know he divides opinion, but I do think there's a player in there. I really do. But he's got to remember he's a footballer. Like I said with Aubameyang, there's a fine blend between what you do off the pitch and on the pitch. We all know what he did last year. He's got to make a good impression. He's been on holiday since Nigeria, but the World Cup, I think he's back next week, I want to say. He's going to have to do a lot to impress Emery because, this isn't PSG where the owners tell you to play Neymar and etc. Emery will not be told to play Iwobi, and he's fighting for his place. So I think Iwobi and Welbeck are the two most at risk.
Oh, I don't know. I disagree because I think we're going to play our playmakers out wide. So I think that's where Iwobi comes into place because he can play as a wide playmaker. I think we're going with more robust central players. I don't think we'll see Ozil or Mkhitaryan in the middle at all.
No,
Ramsey is absolutely key to us.
I do agree as well. I do think we'll play Iwobi wide, but I just think his attitude is going to be key. If he comes back and thinks, I'm big time Charlie, I don't think Emery will have any of that. I think Emery's a sort of manager that he would rather shove Ainsley Maitland-Niles or Jeff Rain. He'd pick Jeff Rain Adelaide ahead of Iwobi if he thinks the attitude's better. He won't give a monkeys about the age or the experience. That's why I think Guendouzi will be played, because he won't care about any of that. If the attitude is wrong or the stats that he gets from the computers are not checking out for work rate, that player will not play. Simple as that.
I got to be honest, as much as I like Iwobi's talent, last season there was far, far, far more bad than there was good.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So some of his performances were woeful. I can see he's a confidence player. He'll get a fair crack of the whip, but I think he's really under threat. I think Perez. I like Lucas Perez. I don't see him. Iwobi, Welbeck. I can see them all under threat. I could see Emery saying, "Well, do you know what? This is what I need for Europa League. This is what I need as just to keep me going, and this is what I need to start." And if they don't feature in those lists heavily, they're out.
The two things that do help Iwobi and Welbeck's case is homegrown.
Yeah, that's true.
They both cover the over 21 slot for that, now that Iwobi's moved to that level.
And also, Jace, breaking news, in the bin marked Sebastian Frey, remember those bins of players we're forever linked with? William Carvalho has just signed for Real Betis.
Thank God
So
for that.
finally, we can put that one to bed.
Kondogbia, Carvalho.
Oh, there's so many, isn't there? What was Hatram Trebelsi? Remember him? Yeah, he was.
Boys, I guess Lamar is close.
Oh, fuck
Lamar
off.
is close.
Yeah, he is. He's close to Madrid.
Yes, he is.
And that is one
Chris,
that I'm gutted we didn't get, I'll tell you.
Chris, one for you. From Archie, what are the chances of PSG sell either Neymar or Mbappe to Madrid this summer?
Massive.
Would prefer they go for Hazard to help Arsenal. I don't see Hazard going to Real.
Oh, I do. I see both. Yeah, I see both.
I see Mbappe going there, certainly.
I think Neymar is more likely than Mbappe purely because the financial fair play numbers work better if they do it that way. Neymar is Neymar's all about Neymar, and the Qatari. The trouble you've got is if they sell Neymar, the Qatari owners look a bit stupid because they brought him in as the player that was going to be the franchise player. The thing is, though, if Mbappe gets the winning goal in the World Cup final, for example, he's already being lauded as potentially the next superstar when Messi and Ronaldo move aside. And somebody tweeted, I think it's Jonathan Johnson tweeted today, or somebody tweeted at him and said, "I wonder how Cristiano Ronaldo is gonna feel." Sorry, Cristiano Ronaldo. I wonder how Neymar is going to feel when he goes back to PSG and Mbappe is a bigger star than he is at the end of the summer. And I thought that's a really interesting tweet. I can see Hazard not being a Sarri type of player in terms of attitude. John might disagree, I don't know, but I don't think Sarri will. I don't think he'll like the in and out of, oh, shall I stay? Shall I go? And I think if you look at Madrid's midfield, Modric is not getting any younger and could end up in the clink. And Casemiro is obviously the key to build around there. Toni Kroos is getting on a little bit. Bale is probably going to be used as the striker this season. Benzema's getting on as well. If they've just sold Ronaldo for what, 105 minutes, they've got money to burn.
Yeah.
They could get both. They could, and but it would be so Real Madrid to buy the man who chose to leave Barcelona, wouldn't it? It's Figo all over again, isn't it? Just to get one back on Barcelona. I'm not going to use the C word because we don't do that anymore, but Real Madrid are arseholes. They are pure arseholes, and Barcelona aren't much better. But those two, if they can get one over on each other, and you think they've just shipped all that marketing for Ronaldo out, Mbappe and Neymar tick all the marketing boxes. So, yeah, I could see it, but I think probably Neymar's more likely because he's the one they've been flirting with for 6-7 months now.
Oh, cool. Well, good answer. Well done.
Oh, Fly Pigeon just giving us some money. Thank you, Fly Pigeon. That's very kind of you. Yeah.
Fly Pigeon, what are you doing, Fly Pigeon? Oh, you're a rock star, Fly Pigeon.
Bless him.
Oh, mate, you are a cheeky monkey. That's superb.
I particularly like Cavani for the Pirates hashtag. That's excellent.
Cavani. Tell you what, I loved Cavani. I just can't believe it. Fly Pigeon. That's Fly Pigeon. This show is dedicated to you. Thank you ever so much. You're an absolute rock star. Well played, sir. Dave, the last question for you, and then I'm just going to ask you all one question before we wrap this up. Pete Colson asks, if you could have back one player that we let go in the last 3 years, who would it be?
Nobody for me, because I'm not in a position of looking back anymore. I've reached an age where I've got to look forward all the time. The players who left for a reason. We've got a different set of players there now. They might not fit in. There might not be a vacancy for them anymore. Not for me.
Nah, I couldn't agree more, mate. I couldn't agree more.
Can I say Gabriel?
The singer or the defender?
Both.
Had to be said.
One of them was out of reach.
I'd rather have a piece of toast. Oh no, that was someone else.
The new Chris Carpenter, ladies and gentlemen. The new Chris Carpenter.
That's never a good thing.
No, it's not. We can agree on that. So we've spoken about new signings coming in, but overall feeling now, Emery settling in, his media presence is good. Are you excited for the season? Give me a little prediction for the season. Dave.
I'm on mute again. What was the question?
Give me a little prediction for the season. Where do you see the season going?
No lower than third.
Yes, Dave.
And the Europa League, as long as we don't mess around too much with the team in the early stages. I can imagine us playing a very weak side and coming a cropper to someone we don't really understand.
Yeah, I can see that. Josh?
Same as David. I think we'll finish third, and I think we'll get to Europa League final. FA Cup, probably like quarters. Carling Cup or whatever it is now. No idea.
Okay. Chris?
Very excited. Yeah, it's a new era. It's a new dawn. Fond memories of the past, but I want to look to the future. And I'm with Dave. I'm positive. I think we could even go as high as second. I don't want to predict title challenge and all that jazz yet. I think we need to see how the season settles. But yeah, running Europa League, and I'll say third as well. And it just feels fresh again. Like I'm genuinely refreshed and excited to see not just what Emery brings, but what brand of football we play. And I think it's going to be a good season. I think there's a lot of teams that are going to be, improving and a lot of teams that are going to surprise a few people this season. So yeah, here's to Spurs finishing below us and going back to our shadow where they belong.
I agree with that. I mean, Archie makes a point here. Above who, Josh? United or Chelsea? I think the one thing everybody's forgetting is how poor our away form last season is.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of easy gains to be made. But, you can keep the same set, the spine of the team, which is good. And you make small improvements. And all of a sudden, there's an extra 15 points in the bag. So I agree. I think we can win Europa League. And I think we can finish third. At least.
This is the other thing on one of those teams. One of them's only just sacked their manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, Liverpool the ones I slightly worry about.
Spurs have a whole squad at the World Cup.
At the World Cup, yeah.
So they're not coming back till next week. So there's another 4 weeks off. They've lost the start of the season. Man City have got an entire squad out as well. They've had to go to members.
You made your point. You made your point, fella. I get it.
I'm making it.
Good man. Right, guys. That's it for tonight. So just a couple of things. Thank you, everyone. As usual, you've been superb. That fly pigeon, this is for you. Thank you ever so much. We're going to have some giveaways this season. We'll be giving away some T-shirts. We'll put some images up.
Not those sort of images, I hope.
No, of the T-shirts. You get your choice of colours. You can have your name on the back. It doesn't really matter. We're going to do something every now and again for you guys. If you do live abroad, you are paying for the postage. I'm not paying for postage abroad. I'm buying the bloody T-shirts. So there you go, okay? But we've got some things planned for you all. As from the end of the last season, we love that you're part of this, and thank you ever so much. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Please, if you want to know when we're going live, let's click on the bell, get notified whenever we're going live, and we're going to get on it. I've only got 71 likes. What the fuck is going on?
The person who gets the 100th like gets a night with John Welsh. I've heard that.
We'll never make it. It will stay in. Now it's not back, Chris.
Sort it out. Give me my likes. I want my likes. Sort it out. To those listening on iTunes, as usual, thank you ever so much for support. We really, really appreciate it. We're looking forward to a new season. We're excited. I have the pleasure of these three idiots tonight, and it's been brilliant. I'm looking forward to podding with the rest of the guys. My thanks to Dave. Dave, you're a star. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jason, and thank you everybody else for watching. Been fun tonight.
It has. Josh, you're a rock star, mate. I'm loving Spiky Josh. We want more of it.
Thank you. I think I'm coming down with a bit of pod fever, though. Well, I've been on every night, haven't I, for the past 3 weeks, it feels like.
You are. I'm getting bored of you now, so you're going to have a break soon. Don't worry about it.
It's getting overcast, see.
And the long-awaited return of the Dirty Pirate. Chris, thank you, buddy. Been good to pod with you again.
Pleasure as ever. And just one quick message to Josh. Allez le bleu, it's coming home.
Yeah. So that's it for tonight, guys. Obviously, we love you all. Thank you ever so much. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Press the bell icon. And we will see you next Thursday. Danny's got a World Cup show tomorrow. Be sure to tune in. And if we do make a signing, we are going live that night. We're just going live. Whenever there's anything to bring you, we are doing it. So we'll give away a T-shirt next week, okay? I don't know what I'm going to do to give it away yet, but it is going to be happening. We'll get some pictures up. That's it for tonight. Thank you ever so much. Take care. Good night. Keep it Arsenal. Here we go.